After playing a few WWF games on Dreamcast and PlayStation 1, I decided to check out a console I've been neglecting since February 2024, that being Sega Genesis. It's time to see if this console has any good wrestling games worth playing or not.
It's a risk I'll have to take.
We'll start off with WWF Raw and work our way through the list of... There's only 4 games total.
Well, another 3 days of this, probably.
Well, that makes this future compilation a lot less stressful in comparison to the 16 Cabela games I gotta finish for the PlayStation 2 one day.
Jesus Christ!
Anyways, let's jump into this game and see if it's a good first impression for what this 16-bit console has to offer. After all, the Dreamcast had a decent game and a good game. So what about the 2D predecessor that was milked way past expiration date, which helped lead to Sega's total downfall? Right away, you'll notice how fugly this game is. I mean, good God, this console was capable of way better. Just look at the Sonic games, or even the Streets of Rage trilogy. This game has no excuse for being this horrendous.
Jesus Christ!
I honestly hate this game's color palette. The menus, intro, and pictures look awful. The UI itself is a mess. Slowly selecting your wrestlers is a pain as well. Just overall, this game is...
so ugly.
Like most Sega Genesis games, this one controls poorly, since, there's only 3 buttons.
Boys, we get it!
So get used to your movement and combat feeling very sluggish and unresponsive. In fact, I think there's an input delay. At least it feels like it is. As I hit the punch button, it won't punch, or it will only after a brief few milliseconds. This in turn led to a lot of anguish in each mode, which I'll cover later. While the combat sucks, it just sucks. Imagine trying to play a fighting game with a 3-button Genesis controller. It's not possible. It's just not. Having to press and hold a combination of buttons, then on top of that you have to press a bunch of different buttons while holding those buttons just to pull off a single move.
Wow, what a waste. The poor children.
Here's an example. Attack. Press and hold A and B, then press down, right, C, and let go. Then you will pull off a move for Shawn Michaels. Yeah, exactly. This is just atrocious to play. Older gamers will cry that this is their childhood and you can't say mean things about their precious, but fuck them.
Well, fuck 'em!
Trying to tag your partner is impossible. Trying to pin your opponent, trying some strange input with button combinations and being in a precise single pixel aligned spot just to win the match. This game just plays like shit. Plain and simple, it's fucking shit.
I'm out!
Leading to more disappointment, like an Asian kid having an A negative blood type instead of A positive.
I'm not touching that one with a 20-foot pole.
You have a total of 12 wrestlers to play with. Yeah, only 12. And here I thought the lack of wrestlers on PS1 and Dreamcast was bad. But here, it's worse. At least if the selection is good, it won't matter how few they are. Right?
Oh, right.
So who do we have to play with exactly? Well, you got Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Luna Vachon, Bam Bam Bigelow, Razor Ramon, Lex Luger, 1-2-3 Kid, Doink, Diesel, Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart, and Yokozuna.
Tonight's matchup, Yokozuna versus Yokozuna.
That's it. Overall, an okay roster, and surprised they included a female wrestler. Don't remember Luna, but whatever. Just wondering if it was a budget/time constraint, or even memory space as to why they didn't include more, such as IRS, Tatanka, King Kong Bundy, Ted DiBiase, Matt Hardy, Jeff Jarrett, Crush, the British Bulldog, or even Jerry the King Lawler.
Who's that?
Moving on to the modes, you got your traditional selection, though one of them I'm not sure of. Most have been an older match type, or just something for this game, but anyways, one-on-one has you fighting a wrestler in a standard rules match. Ring out is a thing, so be careful as the numbers appear on your hood rather than being spoken in or be appearing on the center of the screen, so you can be easily fooled into disqualification. The AI is a bit finicky. For some reason, Shawn Michaels kept attacking the referee, I guess to hide his dirty moves. Combat is sluggish and tanky, like a snail using a Resident Evil 1 knife to fight a cheetah. I honestly cannot for the life of me grasp this game's mechanics. The grapple system is bullshit, as you will always lose and get tossed around the ring. I tried my best to understand what buttons do what, yet the graphics are hard to comprehend, and of course the angle of which this game plays doesn't help much either. Just look at it. You have to be so precise with your movement and attacks. What is this, a tactical shooter? Am I playing Future Tactics or Front Mission?
What?
You'll miss most of your attacks as you just try to align yourself to hit your opponents. Doesn't help the AI can't move better than you for some reason, and even hit you no matter where you're standing. In the end, after failing to get the combination of buttons needed to pin your opponent, I just gave up. The awful grapple system strikes back. Much like the Empire not giving up on tormenting the galaxy, the bad controls continue to torment me.
Poetry.
I cannot understand the grapple system no matter what buttons I press. It always fills against me rapidly to give my opponent the chance to body slam me. Like, good God, how strong are you to throw Yokozuna around like a ragdoll? I tried so many times to tag my partner after mashing every button and combination I could think of. A Christmas miracle happened.
It's a miracle!
He then proceeded to get destroyed, and I tried so hard to fight back, but the grapple system took advantage of my weakness. Bedlam has 4 superstars duking it out till only one remains through pinfall, so essentially an elimination match. Okay, now I get it.
I get it.
I don't get it.
The awful controls and sluggish combat really shine here, but even more so in Royal Rumble. Bedlam is frustrating to get through as the AI will gang up on you before picking each other off. In fact, I lost as Doink and 123 Kid took me down. guess it wasn't elimination based. I honestly don't care anymore. Let's just get the review over with. Where are the good wrestling games at? Survivor Series has you and a tag team take on another group. Eliminate each member through pinfall till only your team or theirs is left standing. In theory, this sounds like fun. Do remember, this is WWF Raw for the Sega Genesis, and the only thing that matters here is surviving this trash heap to review it and never come back to this traumatic experience ever again. Much like being touched by a relative when you were little.
My son, I'm not touching that with a 60-foot pole.
Turns out, just by getting eliminated yourself, it's automatic game over. Wait, what? Why did I form a team if I'm the only one in the ring? With no one on the sideline waiting to jump in. Meanwhile, the other team has backup. Bullshit. At this point, I thought I was actually making progress with this game's shit controls, but much like WWF Warzone, it was all an illusion. No button combos allowed me to toss people out of the ring and survive the Royal Rumble match, one of the most iconic match types in WWE history. While no Buried Alive match or Hell in a Cell, let alone a hardcore match with Mankind / Mick Foley, Royal Rumble is supposed to be exhilarating fun. Yet here, all I was experiencing was an aneurysm. Not even 2 minutes in, I get yeeted. Fuck you, Yokozuna. The Sega Genesis was infamous in many ways. Two of the most talked about things is its controller and audio quality, or their lack of. Seriously, why is this game nails on a chalkboard? Oh, who am I kidding? None of you under the age of 30 even knows what a chalkboard is. The audio is nails on an iPad. There, now you Zoomers and Alphas, ironic name by the way, can comprehend what I mean.
Asshole!
I did notice some slowdown when there's 4 or more wrestlers in the ring. Royal Rumble felt the most sluggish, probably didn't help with this game's awful controls. It's like moldy chocolate on rotten strawberries.
Excuse me, what?
The music isn't that good, so I won't bother with a montage.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It's over.
At the end of the day, WWF Raw was a massive disappointment that left me agitated like a coke addict going through withdrawals.
Now, don't give Santa that. Coke is Coke.
I went in with an open mind, totally leave more closed-minded than a Fox News viewer.
Oh, damn!
This game just controls poorly, plays poorly, looks fugly, and isn't worth your time as it wasn't mine. This is easily a 1-star garbage game, not recommended. I fear what else this platform has to offer when it comes to WWF/WWE games, but I gotta cover them all. If I start a series, I must finish it. Only 3 more games. Hopefully, there's at least one good game, right? Right?
It's our only hope!
Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later. Well, WWF Raw was just complete garbage. Might as well get to the other 3 and get them over with to move on, right? Yeah, I thought the same thing. So here's WWF Super Wrestlemania for Sega Genesis, which was made by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim. Well, this game's gonna suck as well. Released in the year 1992 for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, I'll only be covering the Genesis version, however, as I'm busy with other Super Nintendo games. Eventually, I'll cover every SNES WWF game, but for now, it's about time we jump into WWF Super Wrestlemania and why it's okay, but nothing great. The first thing to talk about is its roster, which has exclusive wrestlers for the Genesis version. Same thing for Super Nintendo. So let's get those out of the way first. Genesis has the Ultimate Warrior, Papa Shango, IRS, the British Bulldog, and Shawn Michaels. For the SNES, they get Jake Roberts, The Undertaker, Sid Justice, the Legion of Doom, and Natural Disasters. Wait, The Undertaker of all wrestlers is exclusive to Nintendo? Fuck you, Acclaim! Much like the sequel, WWF Raw, this game has sluggish combat that's rather clunky. You still have that delay input feeling with tankish attacks. If you attack, you're stuck in place till the animation stops, then you can move. Meanwhile, your opponent is ready and willing to jump all over the ring like a monkey on PCP. Maybe I should come up with new descriptions.
No shit.
Anyways, the game is just a slug to play, yet one that doesn't feel as bad as WWF Raw, which is a pro, but not a great thing if it's still flawed. So yeah, that also means control-wise, it's still bad. The 3-button controller layout continues to be a pain, having to use combinations for various basic actions. Even pinning your opponent is clunky as you have to press a variety of combinations just to pull it off. Yet, you may just end up blocking or grappling your opponent or body slamming them instead of attempting to pin them, as you have to hit these buttons precise at the same time or in a certain order. It's just not that good. It's awful. It's some of the worst controls ever invented. There's a total of 4 game modes. You have one-on-one, tag team, Survivor Series, and WWF Championship, plus the ability to play single player or 2-player. Since I have no friends, hello darkness, my old friend, we'll just cover single player, starting out with one-on-one, which is just your usual standard wrestling match with ring out. Your goal is to take as much health away from your opponent to be able to pin them for the 3 count, which is slow.
1, 2, 3.
The first time I played, I couldn't figure out the controls, but after playing all 4 modes, things changed. I was able to pin my opponents and came back to win at least once.
1, 2, 3.
Tag Team really showcases the awful combat. When I first played through this mode, I spent a lot of time trying to tag my partner to help me out. Yet all I did was leave the ring, let alone jump off the top rope. It was frustrating, especially once I was getting pinned. Shawn Michaels just stood there. Hello, you're my tag team partner. Why the fuck aren't you doing anything?
Now, this really pisses me off to no end.
Fuck you!
Eventually, after playing through all 4 game modes, I came back to one-on-one and tag team. Again, like one-on-one, it was easier the second go around once the controls became less agonizing. By God, was the Genesis controller just shit. Survivor Series is a thing in this game, where you must pin the entire enemy team to win. Of course, this was my first attempt at the game, and I couldn't figure out the button combination to pin people. Honestly though, why should I have to use button combinations? It should be just simple as pressing a certain single button when your opponent is down, or even better, when you press the grapple button and down on the D-pad to pin them. Seems logical, yes?
Your answer to the great question is illogical.
Yeah, common sense wasn't a thing back in the day for game developers, but then again, look at the live service disasters today with wokeness plaguing gaming. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
So I got eliminated by one by one and just gave up in the end. I just didn't want to play anymore after struggling to get these damn controls down at this point.
Hi, my name is Reggie. I like guys.
The last mode available is WWF Championship, where you must face off against every single wrestler one at a time. Once you eliminate one, you move on to a new match with refilled health. Honestly though, I just don't want to play anymore. It's just a clunky mess of a game that should have been fun, but instead left me wanting to go play SmackDown vs. Raw or something, which I'll get to in the future.
Ah, shit!
The audio quality is actually decent for a Genesis game. Wait, how is that possible? What dark sorcery is this?
Now this is the point where most people, like 99% of people, would do this. Out of this house! Out of this house!
Spirits be gone from this house.
I actually don't hate the sound effects nor music. In fact, the music is actually good. So much I've been using it in other wrestling game reviews, especially those PS1 and Dreamcast games earlier. This game passes the audio quality check.
Yeah, this is good.
There's only 4 modes and 2 options for multiplayer. You can only play single player or 2 player. I get there's no Royal Rumble because the sequel was all about Royal Rumble, but still, you only have one-on-one tag team Survivor Series and WWF Championship. I'm not a fan of how each version has exclusive abundance of wrestlers either.
Oh, bitch, bitch, bitch!
The graphics are less fugly than Raw. I think the colors are what's making that difference. Who knows, maybe it's the fact that Genesis lived for longer than it was supposed to. Whatever the situation, I just think this one looks less atrocious.
Right, okay.
At the end of the day, WWF Super Wrestlemania is a mediocre game that I cannot recommend because it's still suffering from the same issues as WWF Raw, with the sluggish combat, clunky controls, and performance hiccups.
We get it!
However, for some reason this game controls better, also has a better roster, plus it doesn't look as bad nor sound as bad. Not sure what's going on since Raw came out later.
Makes sense.
Honestly, if you had to play Raw or Super Wrestlemania, this one is easily your better option. Eventually I'll get to the last two games, which I'm looking forward to since I grew up with WWF Royal Rumble, and I've already played the PlayStation 1 version of WWF Wrestlemania, the arcade game. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later. Well, one of the last WWF games for Sega Genesis turns out to be WWF Wrestlemania, the arcade game.
I've missed you, old friend.
Yeah, we've already covered this for PlayStation 1, but you know what? We might as well see just what a 16-bit console version is like in comparison with a side-by-side comparison later on in the review.
Oh, goody goody!
For anyone who's not seen my PS1 version review, this game was loads of fun, but lacking in content and replay value. Then again, it was an arcade game, so I guess that makes sense.
Oh yeah!
Yet that doesn't hold it back entirely from being worth playing. So how well does the Sega Genesis version play in comparison? Where you have a cartridge instead of a disc. Where you only have 3 buttons instead of 4, plus shoulder buttons.
It's awful.
So enough of an introduction, let's get ready to rumble in the ring.
Ah, you can feel it, dude!
Right away, this game plays so much worse than the PS1 version. Color me shocked. As you have to use button combinations with the D-pad inputs. Now this might not sound like a huge deal, but if you're playing a game where a single fight takes less than 20 seconds to complete, then you're not in for a good time.
French fry when you pizza, you're gonna have a bad time.
Fast-paced combat, where you need to use button combinations in a very clunky manner, is not exactly enjoyable. But after a few attempts to play the game, I started to get the hang of things. A is punch, B is kick, C is block. A plus C is a different kind of kick. A plus B will make your guy run. B plus C is your strong attack. There might be more, but that's about all I can comprehend in time before I get wrecked by the AI that's still quite bipolar. Three buttons to pull off all kinds of combinations isn't ideal, but Genesis does what Nintendo don't, and that's offering worse controls. If I played this version first instead of the PS1 version, maybe I'd have more fun, but again, maybe I would have hated it even more. Anyways, the combat itself is still fast-paced, chaotic fun, despite controls not being ideal. I still had fun getting my ass kicked by everyone else. And then coming back with a vengeance. The AI is still bipolar, changing from pacifist to a fentanyl crack addict. Also known as your average California resident.
What happened?
It's such a jarring whiplash to go from winning matches like they're nothing to getting wrecked because the AI decided you had enough fun. Time to fucking die. But I love that fast-paced, chaotic, unpredictable gameplay. This game has the right balance of fun and challenge. It's not a burden to play through. It's not agonizingly boring. WWF Wrestlemania, the arcade game, is just a good time. Everyone is still here from the PS1 version. No characters are cut. Thank God they somehow kept everyone there. Unlike the SNES and Genesis version of other wrestling games.
I'm in danger!
You got Doink the Clown, The Undertaker, Bam Bam Bigelow, Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, Yokozuna, and Razor Ramon.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
No one plays any different from each other. Then again, maybe they do, but for me, it's all the same clunkiness you'd expect from fighting games on a Genesis.
Paul, we've heard it a million times. Get over it!
Yeah, you're right.
You will eventually have to fight a recolored version of yourself, which leads to situations like this. You have your two game modes here, Intercontinental Championship and World Wrestling Federation Championship. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Oh, thanks.
No thanks.
In Intercontinental Championship, you must fight several opponents through 7 rounds, 4 of which is your standard one-on-one, then 2 which are endurance rounds with 2 opponents at a time. Then finally, you got the 7th and last round against 3 wrestlers at once, which does have some slowdown. When I played the PS1 version, I never did get far. It was a combination of fatigue and the fact it was hot as balls that day. Working up a sweat just sitting there during the hot summer wasn't pleasant. If you had a fast-paced fighting game on top of that, you're in for even worse time, as you sweat like no tomorrow.
Wow! Okay!
I was tired, sweaty, hot, and a little agitated, so I didn't complete the game. So it's time to make up for that by actually completing Intercontinental Championship via the Genesis version, with its clunkier controls. It was a tough battle, but in the end, I won. So what do I get for beating the game? Maybe unlocking new wrestlers? A new game mode? A sweet ending?
Nah, that's a good story.
So what about the last mode? Well, I never got far enough. 2 opponents every round was just too much for me to handle.
Pussy.
But I at least tried, but kept getting destroyed. It was just too much, and after trying a few times with 4 wrestlers and a Genesis 3-button controller, and 5 times overall, trying to get anywhere, just trying to continue, it was just not meant to be. So I just gave up. Let's move on to comparing the PS1 and Genesis version.
You bitch.
When it comes to differences between Genesis and PS1, it comes down to graphics, performance, controls, and audio quality. I noticed no difference in terms of load times or fluidity of combat, as all Mortal Kombat clones control horribly, much like MK itself.
Makes sense? You hear me? Shut up!
So whichever version you play, you will have all wrestlers and modes available. Just be warned of the graphical and audio decline in the Genesis port. Overall, I enjoyed both versions. If you could get used to the 3-button combinations, but PS1 is easily the best version next to the arcade original, as everything plays much better in the arcades than home consoles, at least from what I've experienced so far.
Okay.
Sega Genesis is mostly nails on a chalkboard when it comes to audio quality, at least from what I'm experiencing lately. I remember some games having good music on Genesis, but those are probably Sonic & Knuckles, Risk, Monopoly, Nobunaga's Ambition, and Caesar's Palace. This game has some major compression going on.
Oh, no shit.
In fact, the audio is so bad I cannot understand a single word being spoken. What is this? Virtual highlight?
And look, I have to fight the vampire again. Only this time he says something.
No, seriously, try to comprehend what Vince McMahon is saying here.
Boo! Tonight's matchup, Dark the Clown versus Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
The next issue is the controls. Yes, more bitching about the motherfucking controls.
Change the channel, hurry! Where's the remote?
I just can't comprehend how SEGA thought 3 buttons would suffice. Sure, in certain games, the standard controller can work. I mean, it's good enough for game show games like Wheel of Fortune, or board game games like Monopoly, Risk, or even just a Sonic game. Yet here it's not, and I'm sure if I had used the 6-button controller, it might have been better, or even not, who knows, since 6-button controllers wasn't always supported by every game. I just hate having to press and hold B and C while tapping down, down, left, right, up, down just to pull off a single move in Genesis ports.
Can I get an amen?
The game does have some slowdown during larger fights. If you have 3 wrestlers in the ring, there's a slight slowdown, but it gets way worse when you have 4 wrestlers at a time, which didn't help in the last matchup in Intercontinental Championship.
Gary, you're getting a lot
faster.
There's a small amount of options within the settings. When you're selecting your wrestler, you can change your difficulty from very easy, easy, normal, hard, and very hard, as well as the amount of life you have, disable music, and which button layout you prefer, type A or type B.
I don't know which I like more, original or type 2.
But that's it in terms of options. Also, the button layout doesn't drastically change things, so not sure why there's even a choice. But whatever, let's move on to the score already.
It's about bloody time!
At the end of the day, WWF Wrestlemania, the arcade game, is slightly less enjoyable than the PS1 version. It's all in the controls, but also the graphics and audio quality, plus the slowdown when you're fighting up to 4 people in the ring at a time. Yet I still recommend the game. It's still WWF Wrestlemania the arcade game, just a lesser version that you will need to hope for more practice when playing. Yeah, thanks SEGA for such a bad controller. I only have one more game to cover. That one I grew up playing, so when I get to it, I'll get to it. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later. Time to cover the very last WWF branded wrestling game for the Sega Genesis. This one is WWF Royal Rumble, developed by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim. In the year 1993 for both Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Now this one is the only wrestling game for Genesis I grew up playing. I never had the other games and never played them until making these reviews. So let's see if nostalgia is blind to me, because this one I remember fondly.
Pointless nostalgia.
So let's get into the game already and wrap up yet another compilation for the year as we approach the end of 2024. Man, where has the time gone?
Where did the time go?
The roster for this game is a bit weird. I mean, I can recognize some of these guys, but you'd think there'd be some others in there. Anyways, we have Randy Savage.
Savage?
How about the funky chicken?
Is that Walls?
Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Crush, Lex Luger, Razor Ramon, Papa Shango, The Model, IRS, Shawn Michaels, and Jim Duggan.
Who's that?
There's several wrestlers exclusive to each version of Royal Rumble. For Super Nintendo, they get Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, Ted DiBiase, Yokozuna, Tatanka, while Genesis players got The Model, Papa Shango, Hulk Hogan, IRS, and Jim Duggan. Honestly, I hate how each version has exclusive wrestlers, especially because some of them on Super Nintendo I like more so than on Genesis. This is a con to older games, rights and memory limitations and all that jazz.
Look at that hunk of junk.
Like every Genesis game ever, especially all these WWF games, WWF Royal Rumble has some clunky controls, using the likes of A for run, B for punch, and C for kick. Then you got combinations just to pull off grapple moves. Let alone, you have to be in a certain position, and your opponent must be in a certain state for each move to work. All because of the 3-button limitations. So you want to grapple? Press B and C together. Of course, that sounds like nothing, right? Problem is, it doesn't always register, and you may end up doing something else. You have to time the button presses together, or suffer.
You're right, it is oddly clunky and expositional.
To pick up opponents off the floor, press B and C together near their head, otherwise it won't work. Want to clothesline your opponent? You have to have them running at you and time A and B together to pull it off, but only if they don't attack you in turn, otherwise they cancel your attack and get hit instead. This in turn means you can get tossed around if you try to run at them, but it's a pain to counter them running.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Pinning your opponent requires B and C while they're on the ground, but remember, don't be near their head or else you'll pick them up instead of pin them. Starting to see the issue? The controls are just a mess.
What Nintendo?
Grapples are a pain in the ass as you have to just mash buttons hoping to win, but most of the time grapples are just a pointless time waster that happens so often. You just drop your controller to let your opponent get their hit so you can get back to punching and kicking, because that's all there really is combat wise. So how is the combat? It feels slightly less sluggish than Raw or Super Wrestlemania. You can knock out the ref to pull off illegal moves, which is a neat thing that wasn't in WWF Attitude or any 3D game so far for PS1. There's special moves, but of course those are near impossible to pull off with these clunky controls. Having to press a combination of buttons and be in a certain location with your opponent being in a certain state / position really makes me not to want to ever use them, and I never did. There's only 4 game modes in WWF Royal Rumble, those being one-on-one, tag team, triple tag team, and Royal Rumble, with some options within each mode like tournament and brawl. Brawl basically being hardcore match as there's no rules, and tournament is, well, tournament, and I'm not going to bother covering it.
Motherfucker!
One-on-one has you fighting with normal rules in effect. Of course, a ref is present, and this offers opportunity with knocking them out to commit illegal moves like chairs, eye rake, and choking.
You little!
Of course, I didn't get to do those moves, and the CPU only used them really in Royal Rumble, hence why I showed it.
Of course!
So yeah, one-on-one is your standard match and it plays just okay. The more I play, especially with 3 other Genesis games and 5 PS1 WWF games already experienced, I started to get accustomed to bad controls and sluggish combat.
One, two, three.
The brawl option, if selected, allows you to use 2 illegal moves, no ring out, and using a single chair. Yeah, there's only 1 chair, and the CPU will never allow me to use it near them. They'll just get back in the ring, waiting for me, and I'm not allowed to bring it into the ring either. Lame.
Gotcha, bitch!
Nope.
Motherfucker!
Again, I never got to use the chairs, so I had to use triple tag team mode footage for this.
We get it.
I did have fun, but I do wish there was more than just 1 chair, let alone more weapons too. But it is what it is.
Are you crying?
Yes, I'm crying. He hit me with a chair.
There's no ref in this version either. Your goal is just to brutalize them into a knockout by depleting their health bar. Tag team match is fun, unlike WWF Super Wrestlemania, where the AI didn't help me at all.
Now, this really pisses me off to no end.
Fuck you!
The CPU did its job decently in this game. Go figure.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
Just like one-on-one, you have to follow the same rules. Your goal is to pin your opponent. Of course, during pinning, both tag team partners will storm the ring. One to stop the pin, and the other to stop the person trying to stop the pin. It's a fun mode, and tagging your partner isn't that hard to do. Unlike certain other WWF games I won't bother to mention. Just know it's a fine mode that plays decent as can be. third mode is Triple Tag Team, so you play the usual tag team match but with one extra partner.
No shit, Sherlock!
But only one is on the sideline at a time, so if you need to tag in someone who has more health, then you need to press a combination of buttons to swap who's waiting. Does suck they can't all be there, given this game can handle up to 6 wrestlers at a time in the ring, but whatever. Does get distracting seeing your partner swap spots as you mash buttons trying to get out of grapples though. With 2 partners instead of 1, there's a better chance of you winning the match since you can tag out when things get ugly. But in turn, your opponents will abuse this as well, causing this match to take a long time, but not as long as Royal Rumble did.
1, 2, 3.
The best part of this game is Royal Rumble. Given it's named after the match, you'd hope they did a good job with it. Right?
Exactly.
Well, thankfully, they did it. This mode is a ton of fun. There's a whopping 6 wrestlers in the ring at once, leading to a ton of chaos as you try to keep track of where you are and who's a potential threat/target. I never could get people tossed out of the ring, so I just tried to weaken everyone I could, hoping to last till there was just the 2 of us last standing. But of course, that didn't go according to plan. Nothing ever really does it?
Shit the fuck!
As to be expected from Genesis, this game has some muffled audio. It's all in the sound effects like the crowd, impacts, grunts, and menu navigation. It's not nails on a chalkboard unlike certain other Genesis games though, and since there's no real voice acting, it's not a muffled mess like WrestleMania, the arcade game. Out of every WWF game on Genesis, I feel like this one has some of the best music. Not just in terms of quality, but because of the unique music.
Off! Turn it off! For God's sake, turn it off!
That also comes along with every wrestler's theme. In fact, I've used WWF Royal Rumble soundtrack in most of my wrestling game reviews to this point for a reason.
Oh dear God.
Maybe I even stand up and hit a little boost with it. Oh, was that the fun button? Huh? Jake, what is the...
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more! Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
Is it over?
The game runs pretty smooth, as I never encountered any slowdown or long loading times. This game just has a bit of a sluggish combat system with clunky controls. Gotta give it props for having 6 wrestlers in the ring at once with no issues, unlike WrestleMania the arcade game that had some slowdown with 4 wrestlers on the screen at once. At the end of the day, WWF Royal Rumble is a mediocre game that I can recommend. It's got some flaws like lack of content, muffled audio, small mixed bag roster, and clunky controls.
Well, we've heard it a million times. Get over it!
But it's a doable experience for a 16-bit wrestling game. Also, this marks the last WWF game for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It's over.
I've officially reviewed all 4 games. Yeah, do you think there may have been more? But nope. Oh well, at least I can put another compilation to rest here in a while. But first, we need to wrap up the PlayStation WWF games with only one more game to go.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, and also one last Sega Dreamcast fishing game. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later.
You can feel it, dude!